What did ancient humans do when it rained all week? Kelvin waking up one morning and finding rain falling from the sky? At first, it might seem harmless. But for people living without modern houses, waterproof clothing, or electricity, prolonged rain could become a serious challenge. Hours pass and the rain hasn't stopped. Ancient people would have needed to keep themselves, their food, fuel, and tools as dry as possible. Shelter suddenly became extremely important. Now imagine it is the third day. The ground is muddy, travel is difficult, and outdoor activities may become harder. But ancient humans weren't helpless. They had learned to adapt to the environments they depended on. There were no electric heaters, supermarkets, smartphones, or modern waterproof buildings. What people had instead was knowledge. Knowledge of shelter, fire, food, seasons, and the landscape around them. So if the rain continued for days, what could they actually do? The answer begins with one of humanity's oldest survival strategies, finding or creating shelter. During heavy rain, people could seek natural protection such as rock overhangs or caves where available. Others could use shelters they had already built from materials such as branches, grass, leaves, and animal hides. A cave or rock shelter could provide protection from wind and rain. But caves weren't automatically comfortable homes. Smoke, cold, animals, and limited space could all create problems. In places without natural shelter, people could construct temporary structures. The exact design depended on the environment and the materials available, but the basic goal was simple: keep rain out and create a safer, drier place to live. A sloping roof was especially useful because rainwater could run down the sides instead of collecting overhead. Simple design choices like this could make a shelter much more effective. Inside the shelter, people could stay together, protect their belongings, care for children, and wait for dangerous weather to pass. But there was another problem: staying warm. Wet clothing can make cold conditions much harder to tolerate. For ancient communities living in colder environments, keeping warm during prolonged wet weather could be a matter of survival. Fire was incredibly valuable. It provided warmth and light and could also be used for cooking, so keeping fuel dry and protecting the fire from rain would have been extremely useful. Around a sheltered fire, people could warm themselves and dry some materials. Fire also transformed the inside of a dark shelter into a place where people could work and interact. Cooking was another major advantage. Depending on the culture and period, people could cook meat, plants, or other foods over a controlled fire, making meals easier to prepare and sometimes safer to eat. And during a long rainy night, the fire could become the center of social life. People could eat, talk, work, and share knowledge while the storm continued outside. But what happened when bad weather made hunting or gathering difficult? Going outside wasn't necessarily impossible, but rain, swollen rivers, slippery ground, and reduced visibility could make some activities more challenging. This is where preparation mattered. Depending on the culture, people could have food that was already collected, hunted, caught, or preserved. Nuts, seeds, fruits, roots, and dried or preserved foods could all provide useful supplies. A rainy period could therefore be a time to process and prepare food that was already available. Instead of spending every hour outside, people could make better use of what they had brought into the shelter. Planning wasn't just about surviving the current storm. People needed to understand where water, plants, animals, and other resources could be found. Knowledge of the local landscape was an important survival advantage. And ancient people were not simply waiting for nature to happen to them. Over generations, communities developed detailed knowledge of weather patterns, seasons, animals, plants, and places where resources could be found. Rainy weather could also provide time for work that didn't require traveling far. Tools could be repaired, sharpened, or replaced, helping people stay prepared for when outdoor activities became easier again. Clothing and other useful items could also be prepared or repaired. Animal hides, plant fibers, wood, and other natural materials were used differently by different societies and environments. A small leak could become a big problem during days of rain, so people could reinforce weak sections, replace wet materials, and redirect water away from where they slept. Skills and knowledge were often passed between generations through observation, practice, and participation in everyday activities. And when there was less outdoor work to do, there was time for conversation and storytelling. Stories could entertain people, but they could also preserve knowledge, traditions, memories, and